Hi, fun recap here. Today, I'll be explaining an interesting Nigerian movie titled Hustle. Have fun watching. The movie begins with a scene where we see a young girl selling pure water on the road. Another girl was lying to a woman for money, saying that she was lost and needed money home, which the woman had pity on her and gave her some amount of money. Another girl baptized the lady, pretending to bump into her and snatching her phone instantly. It later appeared that these three girls all live in the same house, but were doing these different jobs they thought could do better, just for survival. After a long day, it was finally time for supper, and we see one of the girls, who was called Dummy, dishing all the food when Emily stopped her and took the remaining portion. Akunne, who was the last person, later entered the kitchen and upon realizing that the food was finished, asked Emily for her part, but then she told her she should have come earlier and then fight for her own food. After that scene, a lady who was referred to as Miss Udwak in the movie called all the three girls. She asked them for the monies they made from selling and lying, and also the ones they made from stealing, and even the stolen items like mobile phones, which the kids gladly returned all to her. When it was Akunne's turn, she didn't have enough money to offer because she was saying she had a loss that day, but the woman wouldn't listen and threw her out of her house. The next morning, she caned her mercilessly, asking all of them to bring 2 times what they brought the day before. Later that day, Emily approached Akunne and asked her why she wouldn't find a more lucrative job so she could earn more, so that Miss Udwa could stop beating her all the time, but she refused, saying that she couldn't steal and lie for money. Emily then went to see a lady, giving her some amount of money. Apparently, the lady has promised her that she will help her travel out of the country if she was able to pay some amount of money, and she was stealing it from the money she made for Miss Udwak and paying in installments until she get the full payment so they could all travel out of the country. Dami then went to see Emily and begged her to help her distract a lady with her lying strategy so she could rob her of her money, and she promised that she is going to split the money with her 50%, which made her agree. Their plan worked perfectly when Emily pretended as if she knew the woman and had some short conversation with her, distracting her from her bag, while Dami stole a huge amount of money from her without her noticing. When they returned, Akunne told them how she had returned a missing purse and was rewarded some amount of money, and they mocked her because they thought it was silly for her to return a missing purse which contained like 5 times of the money she was credited. Dami and Emily later counted the money and realized they made more money than they ever made working individually. That night, Akunne begged her friends to shift for her to get space to rest on the bed, but they refused. They never respected her because they saw her to be weak, too calm, and a weakling. So they never respected her opinion in any way, which made her angry, and then she left the room quietly. That night, Emily woke up and stole some amount of money from Dami's things. It was money that Dami had been saving from the money she has been stealing from people and giving to Miss Udwak. She was saving it in case she needed it for anything for herself. Emily stole the money because she needed an extra amount of money to be able to complete the payment she needed to make for her to be able to travel abroad. There was too much pressure on her and the days left were limited, so she had to steal her friend's money so she could afford to leave the country. She wanted to leave because she was tired of Miss Udwak's pressure and the jobs they had to do for her to enjoy the money they made. That's why she wanted to run. That day, Dami realized all her money was gone, and she confronted Emily about it because she knew if anybody would steal from her, it would be Emily. But then she declined, claiming she knew nothing about the missing money, that she didn't even know that Dami had money in her things. That night, Miss Udwa called the girls and reminded them about the rules in the house. that nobody was supposed to try to escape, and also nobody was supposed to steal any money from the ones they made from working for her. When the day finally arrived for Emily to travel, the lady told her she had to meet someone before they could leave, and that lady was Miss Uduak. This made Emily very sad because she was returned back home and she was beaten like never before. From that day onwards, Miss Uduak increased their daily tax. They had to pay even much more amount of money because Emily tried to escape and nobody reported to her. Her friends, especially Dami, was very upset with her for making Miss Uduak increase their daily tax because they could even barely pay the ones she already asked them to pay. The next day, Dami tried stealing from a particular group of boys and she was caught. She was almost beaten to death when Akune arrived at the scene and saved her from the people who were beating her that she was her sister and she would never do it again. Despite that encounter, Miss Uduak still beat Dami mercilessly for not bringing any money home that day. That night, Dami wanted to kill Miss Uduak, but Akune stopped her in the act. Akune later confronted her about why she wanted to do that, and she told her how Miss Uduak has trapped her into working for her as a thief. Apparently, she used to steal from people because she was an orphan, and that was what she was doing for survival until she met Miss Uduak, who promised to give her a better life. But she didn't know Miss Uduak was actually going to make her steal for her for the rest of her life. And the only way she thought could escape from Miss Uduak now was by killing her, because Miss Uduak had warned her that if she tried leaving, she would report her to the police for stealing from people. Une also then told her story about how she had lost her previous boss's money and was therefore fired, and it was Miss Uduak who helped her pay the money she owed or lost. And from that day, Miss Uduak promised her that she would make her work for her and then feed her and let her stay in her home if she could just sell the cloth that she used to sell already. But she didn't know that Miss Uduak was actually coming to demand more money from her and make her work for her for the rest of her life. Dami then confessed to her that she was the one who stole the money from her because Miss Uduak studied her and realized she was hardworking and needed her for her team, so she asked Dami to steal from her so she could pretend to be her helper and then trap her into working for her as well. They then decided to work together so they could all escape from Miss Uduak's trap. Luckily for them, the man whose money Akune has returned earlier knew someone who had an orphanage and was willing to take them in after narrating their story to the man. This made them very happy because they saw an opportunity to leave their toxic home. But before the day arrived for them to leave, Akune found Miss Uduak crying most of the time on different days, which worried her even though she asked her and she claimed nothing was wrong with her. She was bothered that maybe the woman was going through something and needed help. She told the other girls about her encounter with Miss Uduak, and they told her they had to leave because that woman had always treated them bad and deserved no mercy from them. On the day they were leaving, they came up with a plan that Une will go and see Miss Uduak and talk to her so she can distract her for Emily and Dami to be able to run with the bags, so she will meet them outside later for them to leave. But upon reaching there, she realized that Miss Uduak had fainted. She screamed for help immediately and the other girls joined her and they quickly took her to the hospital. This caused panic and fear among them, and this is when Emily told them her story about how she also got trapped at Miss Uduak. Apparently, she was the first person who Miss Uduak brought into her home, and she wasn't that bad at that time. She was actually a good person who genuinely saw her begging for money and wanted to help her because she was an orphan. Miss Uduak took Emily home because she was living alone and was rejected by her friends and family because she had a bad accent. But after she met Emily, she thought she finally had a friend and someone she could trust with her problems. So she even told Emily to help her with a guy she was interested in but was afraid could lose the guy because of her accent. And Emily encouraged her to go see the guy after talking to him on her behalf for some time. She told her that the guy would like her because she was beautiful and the accent didn't matter. So Miss Udwak listened to her and went to see the guy. But after that meeting, the guy broke up with her and this broke her heart. She was frustrated that day when her boss called, and unknowingly she took her frustrating on him without checking to confirm that it was her boss. She was fired immediately, even though she apologized severally that she didn't know it was him. She never got her job back. This broke her heart and she decided to go back home. But upon returning home, she found Emily, the one friend that she thought she could trust for the rest of her life, was leaving her with her bags packed. She thought Emily had intentionally trapped her into meeting the guy so she could leave her and run away. She was disappointed because she had never done Emily any bad or even thought of doing her bad. She had also lost her job because of her. That was when her mood changed and she became very angry and asked Emily to then continue lying and giving her the money because she had no job to be able to pay for her accommodation or even feeding. After Emily started working for her, she found the need to get more people to work for her because the expenses were increasing and the money Emily was making was barely enough to pay for them. That was how Dami and then Akune was brought into the system. The next day, Emily stayed home to prepare food while Dami and Akune went to bring Miss Udwak from the hospital. When they returned, she sat them down and told them how grateful she was that the same people she had maltreated had helped her when she needed help, and she never knew they could ever do that and make such sacrifices for her. So she was very grateful and apologized for treating them badly. They later went to see her the next day and reminded her that this life wasn't all about us and that there were better men out there who liked to be in a relationship with her because she was beautiful and kind. She then understood and was grateful that they actually understood her and decided to stick with her. She then hugged them and decided to stay with them as family. From that day onwards, they stayed together and Emily even helped her with her accent. She taught her few things she needed to know so she could speak better English. One day, they were all going for a stroll in town when a gentleman approached her and requested to speak to her privately. The kids excused them and the man said he wanted to start a relationship or a friendship with her because she was nice, looking good, and even when she spoke, he didn't care about her accent. After that encounter, the kids were happy for her that she has finally gotten someone despite her accent issues. They were all happy, and from that day onwards, they lived together happily like family. Hustle, the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos like this. See you on the next episode.